Today we are going to see. What if Victoria returned while Bella was with the Winchesters? So let's get started. Bella Pav. I hugged Mrs. Weber goodbye as she fled and went to stand back next to Charlie. It was crazy, it has only been a week and this was the 5th death in town. I didn't know what was going on. I would have thought that this would be the hand of Victoria, but I haven't seen her. Or felt the ominous feeling of being watched for about 2 months. I wonder if Edward knew. Edward. It didn't hurt to say his name any longer, but I missed him. I missed them all. I knew I didn't belong in their world, but without them, I felt truly alone. I looked up as Charlie ushered me gently out the church doors into the cruiser. It wasn't until I was in the safety of my room did I cry. Angela was a good friend and I didn't know what was going on, but I prayed it would stop. Blank. With high school being over, that left me with nothing to do but be home to cook and clean. Cooking was what I was in the middle of doing when a knock on the door had me looking at the time in confusion. Charlie was at work and it was only 2 in the afternoon. Who on earth would come knocking? I wiped my hands down on my apron and walked to the door only to see 2 men in suits. Can I help you? I asked curiously. The one with the short hair and light green eyes flashed a badge that read FBI. Hello, I'm Agent Watson. This is my partner Nancy Boy. I gave a quiet snort as the man with the long hair gave Mr. Watts a look. He turned to me with a brow raised and I blushed looking back to Mr. Watts. What can I do for you? Would you like to come in? I opened the door wider, suddenly curious as to why 2 FBI agents would be here. Did something tie me to the Cullens? Is this about Angela? I bit my lip nervously as the 2 slipped in and I gave wide berth as the taller one walked in giving me a smile. Please have a seat, I stated as I lead them into the living room. Would you like anything to drink, or eat? I'm making dinner. Enough to feed wolves actually. I frowned as I said that, because I don't know why I made a LL of that food knowing it was just Charlie and I. I was already in the kitchen as I heard 2 heavy sets of footsteps following me. Well, we don't want to intrude, but we wouldn't mind having a small bite. Oh, is that pie I smell? The shorter one asked, inhaling deeply. Yes, it's, he cut me off with a smile. Cherry, he finished. I nodded smiling as I pulled another chair to the table. I loaded their plates with macaroni and cheese, green beans, corn and meatloaf along with a side dish of salad and brought the pie over as well. As soon as I sat down, they inhaled the food like it was nothing. The taller one seeming to actually chew before swallowing. I grimaced as Mr. Watts shoveled his food. Don't mind him, he can be a pig. Everything is good by the way. Thank you, I nodded returning to my own plate. Blank. We heard Ms. Weber was your best friend. You 2 were close, yes? Mr. Yes. I don't like to be rude, but I will never get you last name. He smiled throwing a glare at Mr. Watts. Sam. I nodded in thanks. Yes, Sam, I'm Bella, but I think you already know that. Angela was a good friend to me, I don't know who would want to hurt her. I whispered. My heart lurched at the memory. Did Angela have any enemies? I glanced at Mr. Watts as my vision blurred with tears. No, Angela, she was the most sweetest person you could ever meet. She's nothing like the people in this town. She wouldn't hurt a soul. I sniffed and looked down at my hands. Was Angela acting strange the last few times you 2 were together? I cocked my head to the side thoroughly confused. No, not that I know of. Why? I asked glancing at both of the agents. We just like to be through. Watts answered. I shook my head again, trying to think of anything out of the norm. No, she was happy. She and Ben. Oh Ben. I sighed suddenly realizing that Ben was waiting at a hotel for Angela since last week. Watts and Sam shared a look that did not pass me. Who was Ben? They asked simultaneously. It was unnerving really. I looked between the 2 for a moment. Ben was Angela's fiancé. They planned to elope and get married this weekend. He's expecting her in the next few days. I need to call him. I looked around for the slip of paper, my mind already filling with the different things I needed to do. Do you think Angela had any enemies? Old boyfriends, jealous friends? Who else knew about their plan to elope? I shrugged in answer. Just 2 of us. Myself and Mike Newton. Ben and Mike were best friends. We were the only 2 that could keep a secret. I planned to drive Angela this weekend. I whispered. God, what a week. The 2 stood abruptly and I stood as well as Watts handed me a card with his name and phone number on it. Thanks for everything and we're sorry for your loss. The food was wonderful. Call us if you think of anything else. The two gave me kind smiles, and in their eyes I saw something that I would have never expected to see. Before shutting the door, I noticed their eyes travel to the kitchen. I decided to quickly grab the pie, wrapping it in plastic wrap. I can always make another. Running out the door, I sighed happily as I caught them right before they left. Wait, here, I said. Watts rolled down his window with absolute happiness as he looked at me. Here, for the road. I thrust the pie into his hands and backed away. We just might to stop by before we leave. Thank you, Bella. Stay safe. The window rolled up and I walked back inside. Closing the door, I stopped in the living room. Stay safe from what exactly? Blank, underscore, blank. I hummed as I neatly stacked the shelves at Newton's Outfitters. It's been 2 days since Angela's death, and underneath this happy facade, I was heartbroken. I had to call Ben and let him know what happened, which was hard on its own, and coupled with the grief of the Webbers, this town became gray. I did notice one thing though: Mike was acting utterly strange. He was skittish and always looking over his shoulder. That's semi-normal except for the angry outbursts that seemed to grow and grow. I felt the ladder shake as Mike stormed past, gripping the shelf to keep my balance. I stilled to calm my racing heart. What the hell was his problem? I slowly climbed down, and before I turned, Mike was standing behind me looking as angry as ever. You told the cops on me. He spat and I flinched away confused. What? I just told them we were the only two that knew about their plan to elope. Are you alright? You've been acting kind of weird lately. Are you sick? I asked, gazing up at him in concern. He took a deep breath and moved forward, invading my personal space. Do I look sick to you, Bella? No, I look pissed. You talk too much, you know that, right? I shrieked as he yelled, knocking over the glass hunting ornaments I just stacked. I covered my head with my arms in an attempt to protect my head. Hey, knock that off. I looked up here in a familiar voice and met the green eyes of Mr. Watts. His face was a mixture with suspicion and concern as Mike stormed past us both. He let Mike pass and walked over to me, calmly assessing the damage to the area around us, and myself. Are you all right? He asked, gazing at me. His eyes bored into mine with a sense of familiarity that I couldn't understand. This man and I have never met, but his presence calmed me. I realized I was just staring at him when his eyes started to assess me even more closely in concern. I'm fine, just a little shaken. He's been off since Angela died. Aren't you going to go after him? I asked. He didn't need to be here with me, I was fine. For the moment, my partner is outside talking to him. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. You seem to find yourself in strange situations, don't you? I shrugged as I grabbed the broom, ready to clean this mess up. Sometimes, I answered without meeting his gaze, but I still felt his eyes on me. He just grunted in response. Blank, underscore, blank. My nightmare ended the same like always. I was getting tired of them, honestly. I understood the point, and I realized I would never find Edward, and on one hand I was okay with that. I had some friends in Charlie. This time though something felt off. I looked around my room slowly as I gathered the feeling I was being watched. Was it Victoria? I shook my head on that one. She would kill me and get it over with. My eyes widened on the pale figure that stood in the shadows. Mina. It was just a whisper and it scared the crap out of me. Who was Mina? A pale hand reached from the shadows and I got a closer glimpse as who was in my room. It was impossible, really. It couldn't be Dracula, could it? My love, I have found you. My heart went into overdrive and a scream ripped through my throat. Within seconds my door was busted open and my window shattered. Charlie stood in my room with his gun, looking around frantically. His eyes zeroed in on the window, making a beeline towards it. What happened? Charlie demanded as he sat next to me, holding my shaking form. I don't know, I whispered. I truly didn't. He had fangs, real fangs. Blank, underscore, blank. I let the officers through the walkway as they left. They're reporting it as a break-in. I shuddered and made a move to close the door when a foot kept it ajar. I opened the door to see Mr. Watts and his partner, Sam, looking at me with questions in their eyes and concern. Why do they care? Found trouble again, have you, Bella? Watts joked, but quickly was serious as they walked in. I guess so, I muttered and closed the door behind them. I was thankful Charlie had gone to work. I was fine here, and had a cop watching the house anyway. What happened? Sam asked as he and Watts sat down. I sat across from them in the recliner and held myself shaken up pretty good. God, vampires are enchanting to me, but I'm scared of this one. You wouldn't believe me. Trust me. I snorted, thinking about his glowing red eyes. Try us. I sighed, shaking my head. I saw Dracula, the real thing he called me, Mina. His bride. He was reaching for me when I screamed. And went out the window as soon as Charlie busted in my room. I said, shuddering again. Dracula. I sighed, standing and paced. See, you don't believe me. That's what I saw. I stared at them both, daring them to tell me I was wrong. I know what I saw. We believe you, Sam said as Watts gave him a look. You do? I asked hopefully. So I wasn't going crazy then. Not yet at least. Bella, can you get us some water please? I nodded and walked to the kitchen and poured 2 glasses of water, slowing my pace as I heard the two talking in hushed whispers. Castiel said we could trust her, Dean. She's tied into this somehow. I clinked the glasses together to make it seem like I wasn't eavesdropping. Here you go, I offered with a smile, and wiped my sweaty hands on my jeans. We know you're telling the truth. We aren't normal people. I'm Sam, as you know, and this is my brother Dean. We hunt the supernatural. Your friend Angela died by what we believe to be Frankenstein. Except monsters don't come back to life like this. We think it has something to do with your friend Mike. I paled at the information. Why would Mike kill Angela? I asked, confused. We don't know. Maybe you can help us. I didn't like the sound of it. But I would help if only to save more people. Blank, underscore, blank. I captured the picture with a smile as Jessica and Mike took a picture on their 5th date. I took a glance, noticing the strange color in Mike's eyes. I pursed my lips in bewilderment and jumped as Mike pressed his hand to my side. Everything okay, Bella? He looked concerned, and for a second, I didn't believe he could be behind the deaths. Yeah, I'm fine. You two go ahead. I'm going to close up shop and go home. I gave the two a smile and did as I said I would. Going home, FTER, this long day was just what I needed. I walked through the front door, knowing that Charlie was working an all-nighter. I threw my keys on the table, and grabbed my wallet, pulling out the card Dean had given me days ago. I walked up the stairs, glancing at the card while I walked into my room. The house was quiet and dark as I turned on my lap. Looking up, I gasped as I saw Mike standing in the corner of my room. Mike, I asked, confused and a little scared. What was he doing in here? You've been a bad girl, Bella. He whispered, and my hand tightened around the card while the other fingered my phone in my back pocket. I took a few steps back slowly. Me, what about you? You killed Angela, I whispered, my foot connecting with the loose floorboard. His eyes glanced at my foot and he smirked. Who told you that? The Winchesters. They ruined my surprise, but no matter. Your death will do. His laugh followed me down the stairs as I ran towards the back door, as it was closer than the front. I pulled out my phone, dialing the number as I went. The phone rang a few times and Dean's voice registered as he answered the phone. Hello, he asked tiredly, and I felt a twinge of guilt for waking him. Mike's cold voice had me shrieking into the phone. Dean, I asked shakily as I ran into the woods, watching as the trees all become the same. Bella, he asked, suddenly sounding alert. Bella, what's going on? Are you all right? He asked frantically as I could hear him yelling to someone. Sam, get up. It's Bella. I leaned against the tree, breathing hard, and I could hear my heart pounding. Sam's voice suddenly registered in my ears. Bella, it's Sam. Where are you? I could hear the slamming of car doors in the background as my eyes tried adjusting to the inky darkness. The woods behind my house. I whispered, shuddering. Bella, I need you to stay where you are, okay? I nodded and whispered yes into the phone as I felt like the walls were closing in on me. Don't hang up, I whimpered into the phone. Everything quieted down around me and all I heard was my short pants and Sam's voice. It took me a moment to realize Sam was talking to me. I pulled the phone to my ear only to feel warm breath on my ear, tickling a piece of hair at the nape of my neck. Boo, Sam Pov, this is right before the call. I closed the door, taking a swig of beer as I went. This case was simple. Well, it was supposed to be if Castiel hadn't informed us of Bella Swan's purpose in our lives or lack of thereof. We're not bringing her along. A girl like her doesn't belong in this life. Dean was arguing with Saws, his pacing having no effect on the angel. Dean, God has made it so. I scoffed and laughed. Really, I will humor you here. Why, once this case is done, she will have no reason to come along. No demons after her, or Lucifer sniffing around a town like Forks. It's a simple shapeshifter case, we just have to find him. I still think this has to do with that Mike guy, man. Castiel shook his head and stalked up to me. I moved back towards the bed, but his fingers reached my temple. All I saw was blackness, till I saw fire and heard screaming. I could see Bella in the flames burning as a result of our leaving. The image changed to what was, I guess, the beginning of her life. Spent with her mom and visits with her dad, until she moved to Forks a year ago. After a while, things became fuzzy, moving at lightning speed. Only seeing pale figures. What are those? Bella was clear though, her hand wrapped around a blurry figure. The image shifted again and this time everything was clear. Bella was standing in between Dean and I with Castiel on her left. Her hands were on our forearms with Castiel's hand on her shoulder. The image blurred again like last time, the same pale figures from before, except like a video. Images flashed and I could see Bella traveling with us. Sometimes in the images she had what looked to be a wedding ring on her finger. I saw her growing pregnant with a hand on her stomach. No face to the hand which was blurry, yet clear. Everything zipped back into one place as Castiel removed his hands. I shook my head sitting down. What were those pale figures? I didn't understand them. They felt cold and dangerous. That is her story to tell. I rolled my eyes and leaned on the bed, feeling tired. I hated when he did that. What did you show him? Ian looked between us and I caught the look Castiel threw at me. Her life. All I know is, she's meant to do this. If not, she burns. That was what I didn't get. Why was she on fire? Castiel sits down and stares at us both. Hell, she loses everything in a span of one night and goes in search of a crossroads demon, although that is not what she is looking for. She makes a deal, 2 years from now to be exact, and sells her soul. That is the fire, Sam. We sat in silence for a moment. Why is her life suddenly going to mix with ours? What if we didn't come here? Can't you pull her out like you did me? Dean asked. And I was curious too. Castiel shook his head again and leaned back. If you didn't come here, 2 months from now, your paths would have crossed. She's a victim of a ghost haunting. She moves from home after losing everything, only to end up in a house haunted by a butcher. I can't intervene because she's meant to be here, there's no reason to. This was just beyond weird. Why are we just meeting her now? And when you say everything, what do you mean? I asked yawning. That is her story to tell. She ended up in Forks because God wanted our paths to cross. Dean scoffed and mumbled something. I leaned back, closing my eyes. We'll head over there in the morning. I muttered, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was a goner. Blank. Dean Pav. The brightness of my screen woke me and I noticed the unfamiliar number. I was going to ignore it until I figured it could be something important. Sliding my finger, I held the phone to my ear. Hello, I asked. This better be important. Dean. I sat up straighter, my eyes quickly adjusting to the darkness. Bella. I could hear her breathing heavy as if she was running. Bella, what's going on? Are you all right? I couldn't hear much except for a lot of static. I hopped out of bed, pulling on my pants while waking up Sam. It's Bella. Take the phone. I tossed the phone in his direction as he slipped on his shoes. Already following me out of the motel room. I started up my baby and I could hear Sam trying to soothe Bella. Bella, where are you? He nodded to himself and pointed to the trees. Even I could hear the scream and I pushed on the gas pedal. I lost her. He's there. I could hear him. Why Bella though? He could have just killed her like Angela. I shrugged and started to entertain the idea that maybe Bella really belonged in our world. Do you think Saz is right? Is this all some twisted sick game of fate? Sam looked out the window for a moment before turning to me. When has he ever been wrong? Blank. Bella Pav. Boo. I screamed and took off running. The trees whipped past me, stinging me in the process. A hand grasped around my neck and lifted me up in the air. I looked down to see Mike grinning up at me. Suddenly, I was flying backwards and I just knew I was going to hit a tree. I was surprised to land in a pair of arms. I looked up to see a man in his late 30s with dark hair and blue eyes. He looked to be wearing a trench coat. He gazed down at me and I felt like his eyes were piercing into my soul. Get behind me. His voice was rough and held room for no argument. He put me down and I scurried behind him, trying to peek around. It was futile as the sky was getting dark. I looked behind me as I heard a twig snap. Instinctively, I grabbed the back of the stranger's coat trying to will my eyes to see in the dark. A bright light flashed directing my attention back to this stranger which was the source of the light. I let go of his jacket. Backing away slowly, he turned back to me, his eyes bright. Bella, run. My eyes widened and I turned around quickly, running back to what I hope was home. I screamed again as I ran into a body. Bella, it's Sam. Calm down. I breathed heavily and took a few deep breaths. Are you all right? I couldn't see his face, but I could hear the concern in his voice. Yes, it's Mike. He and this man. I could hear Dean's voice close to my left and realized he was standing next to me. A flashlight flicked on and both of their faces were in view. A man. They looked at each other and then me. What did he have on? A trench coat. I answered. Saws. Dean whispered. Sam, take her home. Get her inside. I think we're dealing with multiples here. Sam took my hand and started leading me down a trail. Stay with her, he called out. I didn't hear a reply, but I guess Sam understood. I ran into my back door and Sam was right behind me as he locked up the door. Bella, go upstairs and make sure everything is locked, including windows. I did as he was told. Charlie's was the first room I entered, quickly making sure the window was down and tight. The bathroom, was my next stop, which was too closed and locked. My window was another story. It was up a few inches and in the windowsill was a letter addressed to me. My heart hammered in my chest at the neat handwriting that graced the paper. It could only be one person. I walked over to my windowsill, grabbing the letter with my shaking hands. Opening it, I have never been more terrified in my life. The letter didn't say much, but it said enough. My dear Bella, you've been a very lucky girl. I'm surprised really, without the Cullens around. I can just imagine you shaking in your pants right now. I'm coming for you, Bella. The catch, anytime I please. XOXO Victoria. I jumped as Sam slammed down my window. I told you to, are you okay? I think I was too in shock to say anything. I opened and closed my mouth like a fish out of water. Suddenly, I was pushed to the side as Sam drew a gun at my doorway. I watched in fear as a woman smiled and gave me a wave. I grimaced and jumped as Sam was thrown into my closet, breaking my doors. His gun slid on the floor in my general direction. I quickly grabbed the gun and aimed it at her. I took a shot aiming at her chest. Who are you? I asked, backing up. The woman laughed and stalked towards me. Back up. I'm warning you. My legs met my bed and the woman smirked at me. I shot her in the chest, which only seemed to slow her down. She frowned and snarled at me. I really hate being shot. She ran towards me and I shot her again in the heart, I think, as she fell to the floor with a thud. I breathed deeply as I looked at the woman and then the gun. I just shot someone. I went to Sam's side and rolled him over to see him knocked out. I heard the banging of a door and then heard it being kicked open. I shut my room door and hid behind it, trying to control my breathing. Heavy footsteps followed up the stairs and my door swung open. I moved, cocking the gun, only to end up barrel to nose with Dean himself. It's just me. What happened? Dean surveyed my room, eyeing the woman and making his way over to Sam. She flung him into the wall and I shot her a few times. I shrugged, putting the gun on my nightstand. What's going on? Is it over? I asked. Dean was in the process of helping Sam, who was slowly coming to. Who's Victoria? I turned quickly, placing a hand on my heart as the man from the woods was standing in my room. How did you get in here? I looked at Sam and Dean inclined his head towards the stranger. Bella, meet Castiel, an angel. Saws, meet Bella. He looked at me for a moment and walked forward where we were almost face to face. Saws. Personal space. Dean snapped. Sorry, I'm just figuring out this whole human thing. I looked between the three of them in confusion. Who is Victoria? It's here in this letter. I took the letter from his hands, tearing it into pieces. A vampire out to kill me, I whispered. I then told them a brief history of my time with the Cullens and Victoria's reason for hunting me. You're a weird chick, Dean commented. Yeah, but that's over now. For some reason, I was angry with them for leaving me here. They said I was like family, only to end up alone with a psycho vampire after me. I don't miss them, but they left me here alone to fend off Victoria. Some family, I guess, huh? The room was silent for a minute until everyone seemed to get their bearings. I walked the two outside, confused as I realized the angel wasn't around. Where's your friend? I asked, looking back at my house. He disappears a lot. It's a thing he does. I watched as they leaned against their car and I leaned against my truck. I felt like there was more that needed to be said. So what happens now? Where will you go? I asked, gazing at the both of them. Wherever we're needed. We travel. Sam spoke up, giving me a small smile. You're always on the road. Maybe I could do that too. Victoria won't know where I am all of the time. Yeah, pretty much, Dean answered. Can I tag along? At least for a little while. I won't be in your way. I might find something interesting and live somewhere else. Victoria can't catch me so easily if I'm bouncing around from place to place. We looked at each other and Dean walked up to me, his face serious. Bella, this is dangerous. You can get hurt, and sometimes you may need to tag along. This life isn't pretty. It's not stable and luxurious. We kill people and monsters. It's violent. People are after us, and if you're with us, they're after you too. Can you handle that? Is this worth it? I'll be throwing my life into the line of fire once again. But Charlie and my friends will be safe. That's better than nothing. Yes, I answered. Dean stared at me for another moment before nodding. Go pack. We need to leave before your dad gets in. He will find it strange leaving with us. I nodded, understanding. I had to think of something that wouldn't be suspicious. After packing plenty of clothing as I could fit, I wrote a note on fridge explaining that Angela's death took its toll and that I've decided to do some searching for myself. I told him I'll keep in touch with him every few weeks and to not worry. I also told him he could sell my truck as I would be taking a taxi. Leaving my key on the table, I walked out the door, locking it from the inside. Dean took my bag and threw it in the trunk as I slid in the back seat, pulling my seat belt on. Dean started the car and I watched my house get smaller and smaller. This was the right thing to do. Turning, I was startled by Castiel suddenly appearing next to me. Jesus, can you make noise? I asked, staring at him. He was a very weird angel. So he does this too? Just pop in and out of nowhere? Dean nodded. Sam turned and smiled at us. You'll get used to it. He does it just to freak you out. Castiel scoffed and turned to me. I do not. Do you humans always react like this? I raised my brows in mock offense. Well, I didn't know us humans were so jumpy. EXCU. Say me for thinking that you angels are a normal day occurrence. Castiel cocked his head to the side in confusion and turned back to Dean and Sam. I think I agitated her. Bella Pav. I awoke to gentle shaking. Looking up to meet Sam's face hovering above mine. Hey, we're a state over, do you want to stretch your legs for a bit? I nodded and sat up stretching. Oregon, I asked while I got out of the car. Sam nodded as he shut the door. Where's Dean? I asked, noticing he was not around. Sam pointed across the street to a motel. He's asleep, so I decided to get gas and wake you while I was getting gas. He shrugged. Well, thanks. I'm going to go and get some snacks. Do you want anything? I asked, and Sam shook his head. No thanks. Be out in 5. I nodded and walked inside the gas station. Grabbing a few things, I headed out and back to the car. You can sit in the front, Bella. Sam opened my door for me and I smiled, holding the bag close. We're just staying for the night. There looks to be nothing here anyway. I nodded and started thinking about the many things that could be anywhere. What do I do while you guys do your thing? Is there any way that I can help you guys? I asked as Sam pulled into a parking space. Sam parked, removing the keys from the ignition and turned to face me. Well, what can you do? He asked. I'm good at telling lies. I snorted, and Sam let out a chuckle. That just might make you qualified. The motel room was the same as any other except there were 3 beds. Dean was already asleep, and Sam was doing some searching on his computer by the time I wind down for the night. It didn't take me long to fall asleep, before a nightmare plagued me. Please don't. I choked. A hand was wrapped around my neck, squeezing tightly. I tried prying their fingers off to no avail. There was no face, but just a laugh. Please don't. He was mocking me now as he threw me against the wall. I could feel the bruises already as my body tried bracing itself. Ouch, I know that stung. The man muttered. Suddenly, his hands gripped my hair, pulling me off the ground, forcing me to look up. Nighty-night. Until next time, he whispered in my ear, and before I could do anything, he smashed my face into the concrete. Blank, blank. Sam Pav. A loud thud jolted me awake as I blinked away the sleep in my eyes. Turning on the lamp, I heard Dean groan. What the fuck was that? I sat up, my eyes going to Bella's bed to see it empty. Pushing the covers off, I walked over to the side of the bed to see Bella on the floor against the wall. Dean, I called, checking her pulse. She's fine, but I don't understand how she's way over here. Dean grunted as he knelt beside me. He looked at her bed and then her. It's not possible for her to be this far over if she rolled out of bed. I shook Bella awake gently, hoping not to startle her. Hey, I soothed as she opened her eyes. Sam, Dean, what's going on? We helped her up into her bed. You tell us. You were on the floor. She looked at us both confused. I don't know how. Maybe I rolled off, she asked, and I shrugged, looking to Dean. Maybe. Are you all right? She nodded and suddenly stopped, rubbing her head. Ow, I feel like I've been thrown into a wall. I looked to Dean and he shrugged. Maybe you shouldn't go back to sleep. We need to get on the road in a few hours. Why don't you go freshen up? I suggested, and she nodded, making her way to the bathroom. Is this something we should worry about? I asked, making my way to my duffel bag, once I heard the shower run. I don't think so. If this starts happening a lot, we'll start worrying. She seems fine. I pulled out a shirt and looked to Dean. Something still isn't right about it. She ended up against the wall adjacent from us. Like she was thrown. Dean said nothing as he grabbed his toothbrush. He stopped next to me and stared at her bed for a second. You don't think she was, do you? Blank, underscore, blank. Bella Pav. The hot water did wonders for my skin as I washed my hair. I winced as I ran my hands through it. Ouch. I rubbed my fingers on a tender spot and winced. Jesus, this hurt. How hard did I hit my head? Removing my hand, I was horrified to see blood on my fingers. Oh my God, I whispered as my dream hit me full force. This wasn't real, right? My dreams can't hurt me. I fell off my bed and hit my head. I rinsed and washed my hair a few times. Shaking my head, I stepped out, wrapping the towel around me while wiping the condensation from the mirror. Once I could see, I was shocked at what I was seeing. 4 finger-shaped marks appeared on my neck that I don't think makeup could hide. What the hell? I muttered, softly touching them. Flashes from my dream came back to me as I closed my eyes. No, this is not happening, I whispered. Taking a wild guess, I turned around, gazing as my back had bruises all over. Looking through my duffel bag, I pulled out a long-sleeved turtleneck and a pair of jeans. Once clothed, I made sure to hide any evidence of any sort. They didn't need this right now, and I needed to figure out what was going on with me. Stepping out, I smiled at the brothers. How are you feeling, Bella? Dean asked as he was drinking a beer. I'm okay, I answered, sitting down. Here, we picked up something to eat for you. You like pancakes, right? I nodded and smiled as Dean handed me a box. Do you like cook everything? I looked up from my plate to see Dean trying to look innocent. Yes, pretty much. Next time if we stay somewhere with a kitchen, I'll cook for you guys. Dean made a fist pump in the air with a quiet yes. Sam, we're keeping her. That's final. I laughed, and Sam just chuckled. Okay, Dean. So, I found something in Idaho. Says here a string of deaths from a bar. All bodies were found near the building, drained of their blood. Damn vampires, Dean muttered. I watched as they discussed their plan, my thoughts going to my dream. If whatever this was, killed me in my dream, could I die? I shuddered at the thought. Maybe I should tell them. I perked up as I heard my name. What about me? I asked. Dean stood, throwing his bottle in the trash. We're discussing if you might be able to help. I don't want to put you in danger, but Sam thinks it might be a good idea depending on what we find. You can get accustomed to what we do on a daily basis. They both turned to me and I gulped. Now you say vampires, what do they look like? Dean sat beside me on one of the beds. They look like us. Nothing like the ones you know. You won't know it's a vampire until it's too late. They're not your average vampires. Sunlight doesn't make them burst into flames or sparkle, crosses don't compel them, and a stake to the heart does nothing. They survive on fresh blood and can only be killed by what is called dead man's blood, or what I like is decapitation. Which is literally the name. If you help us, we promise we won't let you get hurt. Dean stated seriously. I nodded. If I must, I will, to help save innocent people. I'm in. Dean patted me on the shoulder as he grabbed his and my bag. All right, let's get going. The ride to Idaho was a quiet one, with Dean playing occasional rock music here and there. I was afraid to nap because I didn't know if I would have a nightmare again. It was late into the evening when we arrived at a motel. Grabbing my bag from Dean, I followed them to the lobby. Hey, do you have a room with 3 beds? Or 2 with a cot? The man behind the counter nodded. We have 2 with a cot. Would you each need a key? Dean nodded, and we were each given a key after Dean set $200 on the counter. Room 2A. Perfect. First floor. After we all piled in and sat for a moment, Dean and Sam were coming up with a plan. Tonight, we scope out the club. It's within walking distance. Based on the deaths, I think we're just dealing with one. The feeding isn't very often, but it is organized. Looks like every 3 days. A body shows up, which gives us 2 days from now to prepare. Bella, I know it's late, did you want to come with? I nodded eagerly. Anything from going to sleep. I wasn't sure what I would be facing. I decided to shower first and do my hair. Just mainly blow drying it to where it fell into natural waves. I grabbed some concealer, smoothing in the material around my neck. Digging through my bag, I found some clothes I shoved in there from Alice. I didn't want to stick out, so I wore a short-sleeved red lacy shirt along with a pair of jeans and some boots. I didn't bother with earrings or jewelry for that matter as I held no use for it. Stepping out, I blushed as the two let out whistles. "You look hot," Dean commented, and Sam smacked him upside the head. I let out a laugh. "Thanks. This is fine, right?" I asked, and they nodded. "Have your phone on at all times and stay close to us." I nodded, listening very carefully. Putting on a sweater, I headed outside with the guys right behind me. Their presence was a welcomed one, but they also screamed danger. Walking down the street felt nice and my nerves started to kick in as I could hear the music. "We're close," Sam commented. Their postures changed, and I could tell they were in a different mode. The place was huge and nothing but red lights flashed throughout the building as people were coming in and out. After flashing my ID, we were let in. Dean's hand on my back guided me towards a booth where I was ushered in first, Dean beside me, and Sam across from me. I looked around, having no idea what I was looking for. My eyes caught sight of a man who was staring at our table. I jabbed Dean with my elbow and he followed my line of sight. "Well, what do we have here?" "Sam, 4 o'clock. Sam too looked and he nodded. "Stay here. We'll be right back." Dean gave me a look and moved away as he and Sam headed for Mystery Man. I sat picking at my nails and a waitress came over. "Miss, a drink from an admirer." She pointed to a man over in the corner and I looked over to see a handsome guy waving. I smiled and accepted the drink. "Tell him I said thanks." She nodded, and I sniffed it, looking for any sign of Sam or Dean. I took a sip of the drink and gagged a little at the taste. God, that's nasty. I took another sip though as it started to taste like apples. I stopped drinking. After a moment when I tasted a weird aftertaste. Pushing the drink away I sat back. The club seemed to get louder and louder and noises started to blend in with each other. I could feel a headache coming on as things got fuzzy. Leaning my head against the table I sighed. An arm weaved its way around my waist as I was hoisted up. I could barely lift my head as all I saw were legs and feet. We were walking as I was pulled through bodies. The cold air reached me, as a door was thrust open. My feet were suddenly off the ground and I could feel someone jostling me in their arms. "He'll like you." I lifted my arms, hoping to push away. "You're too weak. You can't fight it. Sleep." I closed my eyes as I went limp. Blank. Dean Pav. Well, that was a bust. I muttered as I opened the door to the club. "Let's just get back to Bella. We've been gone for a minute." I nodded and looked towards our booth, noticing it was empty. "Shit," I muttered, shaking my head. "Where's Bella?" Sam looked around. "Damn it, I told her to stay here." I knew this was a bad idea. I did a full circle, looking around. "Dean, over there." I snapped my head in Sam's direction as I saw him running after someone. I rushed after him as he came out the same door we just entered. We were outside an alley when we heard screeching tires. Looking to our right, a small car took off, turning left. "Damn it," I growled. "This is more than we thought it would be." "Dean, think about it. We go chase after someone obvious that anyone like Bella would have pointed out. He was a decoy. I know I saw her." "Okay, what about the 3 days thing?" "Why 2 days early?" Sam shrugged as we made our way down the street. "Maybe these people are taken on the first day and held for 2 more days before being killed." "We don't have 2 days. Blank. Bella Pav." I knew I was dreaming when I was in the same position as last time. "Please don't." I choked. A hand was wrapped around my neck, squeezing tightly. I tried prying their fingers off to no avail. There was no face, but just a laugh. "Please don't." He was mocking me now as he threw me against the wall. I could feel the bruises already as my body tried bracing itself. "Ouch, I know that stung." The man muttered. Suddenly, his hands gripped my hair, pulling me off the ground, forcing me to look up. He laughed, and yet still all I saw was nothing. I kicked at his legs as hard as I could, gritting my teeth. "Ooh, a fighter. I like that. Come on, Bella, show me what you got." He backed away from me and motioned with his fingers for me to come forward. I stood slowly, and ran for him, making a kick to the chest. He grabbed my foot, twisting me around. I landed hard on my side. "Fuck you." I spit the blood from my mouth. He came and squatted in front of me and I could finally see his eyes. They were a dark brown. "Oh, you will." I cringed away from him as he grabbed my hair and pushed my head to the ground. "Unknown. What the hell did you bring me, Corey? She is not human." I watched as the girl was lifted off the bed and forced back down. It was interesting to say the least though. There was something not right about her. We watched as she shook her head, and before my eyes, I saw her shirt sleeve being pushed off her shoulder. I might be evil, but I certainly wasn't going to watch this. Blank, underscore, blank. Dean Pav. I turned down the dirt path, following the GPS signal of Bella's phone. Tell me again when you had time to do this? I asked, looking over at Sam. This morning. I just felt like I should. Right, I muttered. The GPS stopped a few miles into the woods. Getting out of the car, I went to the trunk, grabbing a machete and a syringe. Walking around, we found a small path leading to a large cabin. I made my way towards the back while Sam took the front. Peering into the window, I saw two men standing over a bed. They were whispering to each other. I busted into the cabin, making my way for the big one. The slice was easy as butter. The one next to him smacked into me, and we collided, smashing into the table. Dean, I heard Sam yell for me. Get Bella, I grunted as we wrestled. Grabbing the syringe from my pocket, I made a move to inject it into his neck. That's going to be a problem. I rolled over, pushing the vampire to the side. I quickly got up and injected it into his body. Getting up, I rushed to Sam's side as he was trying to shake Bella awake. Dean, look at this. We stepped back as Bella shook her head, muttering something. I stood froze, and as her shirt started sliding up her body. No, please, help me. Dean, Sam, help me. Shit, what the hell? We pulled down her shirt, only for her jeans to become unbuttoned and ripped down the middle. Her legs were spread open, and I groaned, getting the image out my head. Close her legs, Sam. I started shaking Bella awake. Bella, Bella. I tapped her cheek and started shaking her. Dean, Bella mumbled, her head swaying back and forth. Yeah, that's right. Follow my voice. Wake up, Bella. I shook her again and she gasped, bolting upright. She pulled me close as she started shaking. Quote, Dean, she held a tight grip on me and I smoothed her hair back. Yeah, everything is okay. You're safe now. Bella shook her head. No, he's in my dreams. I picked her up and looked over at Sam, who was watching closely. Who? I asked as we got her to the car. I don't know. Please don't let me fall asleep again. I got into the back with her, as I handed Sam the keys. We'll find a way to help you. Dean Pav. I put Bella in the backseat, none too surprised to hear the flapping of wings. Shocking to even my own eyes, Castiel got in on the other side, sliding over to hold Bella close. She shive, red, slightly burrowing her face in his coat. My presence calms her. Many humans who are scared pray, and knowing that an angel exists helps them cope. He stated. I just grunted in response, getting into the car. Starting it, waiting for Sam. The cabin went up in flames as Sam ran from it. As soon as he was inside, I turned baby around, speeding the way I came. Saws, what's wrong with her? Sam asked. As soon as I reached the road, I hit the pedal to the max. Saws stared down at our new, I don't even know what to call her, with curiosity. I'm not sure. What happened exactly? He asked, meeting my eyes in the rear view. It was like ghost frisking or something. Her clothes were being removed, I guess. Bella told me he was in her dreams. I said, stopping as I pulled into a parking space. I looked to Bella, her eyes downcast. I got out of the car, taking off my jacket as Saws stepped out with Bella. I wrapped my jacket around her, giving her a once-over. She has bruises developing on her shoulders already. Jesus. We ushered her to the room, Sam undocking the door. Saws gently sat her down on one of the beds, checking her over. Her body needs rest, he commented. Sam closed the door, looking around. He made a beeline for his laptop and I leaned against the wall, watching her. Her eyes widened. No. I can't go to sleep. He'll be there, she stated. I noticed the hyperventilati on quickly as she grasped onto Cass's coat. Hey, you need rest and Saws can heal you. We won't let anything happen to you. First sign of something off, we'll wake you. I spoke softly, kneeling down in front of her. Her eyes bored into mine, and as usual there were these eyes looking at me, begging that I would keep her safe. That's Sam, and I wouldn't let anything happen to her. I grasped her hands gently. I promise, I stated. She was a young girl, not that much younger than Sam. She needed someone to save her. We had to save her. If she's really meant to be in our lives, we can't lose her, right? Bella nodded slowly. Oh, okay. I need to shower, she whispered, her eyes flickering to the bathroom. I nodded, helping her stand. Do you need help? I asked. She shook her head, and I helped her to the bathroom, turning on the water for her at least. As she felt the temperature and adjusted it, I left, keeping the door ajar. I grabbed her duffel bag, sliding it into the bathroom for her. I ran a hand through my hair sighing. I sat on my bed just staring at the wall. This has to be a demon or a witch, I guessed. What else could it be? Sauce disappeared after a second, leaving me with the sounds of typing and water running. Sam grunted in satisfaction, standing quickly. He turned to me with the laptop in hand. It's a demon. It's a dollar demonium, or what is called a grief demon. It's attracted by the host's grief and feeds on it, moving on to the next victim when their host no longer feels hope. Except this demon is preying on, based by what we saw in the cabin, sexual tendencies, although I don't know why. In order for the demon to be expelled, the host must overcome its grief on its own. I nodded, following along. Okay, I get it, but this thing was like Sex Drive 100. Her shoulders are bruised, legs with hand-shaped marks. This isn't feeding on grief here. Are you sure it's a demon? I asked, listening closely as the shower water turned off. It's a hybrid. I jumped slightly as Saz appeared behind Sam. Sam cut him a look of displeasure. He ignored us and looked to the computer. It's a hybrid of the incubus. Sexual desire. Bella could overcome her grief if she pleases, but it will not stop its sexual advances. He explained. I didn't want to know what he meant, but I asked anyway. Which means, I waited silently. It will take what it wants. Her body, he stated, staring past me. I turned my head to see Bella dressed in a short-sleeve shirt and pajama pants. Well, how do we stop it from doing that? Sam asked, closing the computer. We go inside her head and kill it. I looked to Bella, gauging her reaction. T.S. You must reach the point of entry before Bella wakes. She'll know you're there, but her conscious mind will see you as a threat within her memories where you never existed. Once you kill it, you have 5 minutes too in her mind. Time is faster in the brain. She can conjure anything she pleases. Help her to sew, for weapons, anything. You'll arrive at her cause of grief. You must find her, the real her. She'd be in a place she feels safe. Get to her first before the demon. It's gotten agitated. If it gets her, she's dead. Understood. Sam and I nodded, looking to each other. Bella was in a deep sleep, looking quite peaceful. I looked to Sam as we laid on either side of her. Sauce touched Sam's forehead first, Sam instantly falling limp. He looked down at me eerily. I still wasn't used to him. I'll be here. I nodded before shutting my eyes. Opening my eyes, I was standing next to Sam. We turned towards what sounded like a conversation. We didn't have to mow. They far as not even a few feet away was Bella, dressed in a raincoat, standing with some pale dude, his hair all gel-like. I don't want you to come with me, he stated. You don't belong in my world. He leaned forward, kissing her forehead before literally disappearing before our eyes. We watched silently as Bella blinked a few times before dropping to her knees. Edward, she whispered. The space we were in started to get dark as everything started to fade. It was like a movie. Bella was dancing with this Edwin. Excuse me, Edward, change me. Bella begged, and I almost gagged. Sam and I looked at each other before watching the scene unfold. No, why? You have so much to live for. He spoke. His voice was like smooth, real smooth. Sounded gay if you ask me, but this scene too faded, and soon we got to see glimpses of her everyday life with this family and her boyfriend. We knew though that we had to find Bella before this demon did. She and the vampire danced in the gazebo, twirling around slowly. Unintentionally, I made eye contact with her. Dean, Sam over here, her voice echoed around us as the place soon got dark. As light faded, there was a white light that seemed constant. Dean, over there, Sam pointed out, racing for it. I followed after, squinting as the light blinded me. We ended up in a bedroom. In the corner sat a small figure. Bella, Sam asked, slowly walking forward. The curtain of hair was moved as Bella lifted her head. Sam, Dean, how are you here? She asked, standing. Saz. Okay, we don't have much time. Where does the demon usually get you? He asked. Bella furrowed her brow. Do you hear that? She asked. I looked to Sam. Hear what? I asked. Bella seemed to completely ignore us as a wide smile etched across her face. Her brown eyes widened in happiness. Mommy, she stated, seemingly to float past us and down the stairs. What's going on? Sam asked. I shrugged, confused myself. This must be her safe place. Her parents, I concluded as we stopped at the top of the stairs. At the bottom was who we assumed were her parents. They were holding a baby, smiling softly. You're back together, Bella stated, happily watching her parents. I cocked my head to the side. Sam, this is her grief. This is her real pain. I whispered, understanding her reasons for being with a creature such as a vampire. He was the only thing that needed her. Sam finished. Wanted her. I whispered. Bella's parents were inaudible to us but she seemed to hear them. As they aged, so did baby Bella. She was crying as her mother whisked her up from her father's hold. They disappeared as the scene below became dark and dreary. Bella visiting as a small child and early teen years with her father, her face long as she left. Then she came back again at what looked to be 17. Their relationship no longer the same. Bella sank down to her knees. I'm wanted somewhere, she sniffed. I blinked a few times grasping the gravity of our role in Bella's life. She needs us just as much as we need her. For some reason though, I didn't see her as family though. I just had this gut feeling that she was more. Yes, I felt for her but on certain cases and people, I wrapped my RMS around certain people to comfort them. Did my best to make them feel safe. Her though, I wanted to comfort her sure but I felt like I was protecting her in a way that I wouldn't normally do others. We walked down the stairs. Bella, I called, swatting down to her level. She looked up at me with teary eyes. You're stronger than this. You are needed, wanted. By some shitty way of fate, you're intertwined with us. Our lives. I need you to get up and be strong. We're here with you. Do you trust me? I asked, holding my hand out. She nodded taking my hand. I pulled her up gently grasping her arms. Let's give this fucker hell. I whispered. She nodded gulping. Bella, I need you to dig deep down and make this place like home. We need weapons, guns, anything. This is your head. Sam spoke, guiding her towards the couch. I nodded as well, not liking this game of sit and wait. Bella, how does it come after you? I asked. We were missing something. After my parents disappear I go upstairs to lay down, she spoke softly. And you sleep. Sam snapped his fingers. That's it. Dream you has to sleep as well. Go, but I need you to think. We need weapons to protect you with. Bella closed her eyes. A machete and a gun appeared in my hand along with Sam's. Fire. We need a lighter or FL. I stopped mid-sentence as a large flamethrower appeared at my feet. I don't know if we'd need this but hey. I chuckled. You will. Bella answered before laying on the couch. She closed her eyes and hummed. Sam and I waited in the corner of the living room as the room became dark. I pointed toward the stairs as we heard her window slide open. We watched with alertness as a pale figure came down the stairs. Outside of Bella's head, Castiel watched with interested eyes as Bella's hand was wrapped around Dean's. He blinked a few times before smiling. He really was an odd angel. The pale figure had Bella by the neck in seconds, much faster than I thought possible. Bella, it purred. Bella glared grasping its arm. I'm not scared of you. She rasped. That's my girl I thought. I nodded to Sam giving him the go-ahead. He and the demon went tumbling down to the floor. I finally got a glimpse. Say at its face and I couldn't help but cringe. Its whole face was scarred. The only thing noticeable were its brown eyes. I raced forward only to have Sam thrown into me. I landed with a grunt as Sam rolled off me. It stood quickly making a beeline for Bella. I used the machete, creating a clean cut as its head rolled off. Its body dropped to the floor, and head rolled towards my feet. This seemed a little too easy. I muttered. My eyes widened as its head seemed to roll towards its body. I jumped back as Sam uses the low torch burning each piece to a crisp. That's why. I trailed off as I looked at Bella. Let's get out of here. I shook my head slowly sitting up. Both Bella and Sam were already awake staring at me. Bella gave me a small smile. She grasped each of our hands squeezing them. Thank you, she whispered smiling. Of course. Sam responded and I nodded in agreement. So what's next? She asked laughing a little. I chuckled. Nothing but road sweetheart. I winked. Dean Pav. Bella sat in the front seat as Sam was stretched out on the bench sleeping. So this is what you guys do? Travel by car, find a case, sleep in a motel till the case is done and repeat? Bella asked. I nodded. Yeah, it's what we do. I answered glancing at her for a moment. Well, what can I do to help you guys? I'm certainly not weapon savvy. I can shoot a gun. She shrugged. I hummed a little bit. There's never really been 3 of us. I mean Sam does the research and we both do the ass kickings, maybe help on our investigations, scope out the people, area. You're okay with that? We can help you with the other stuff. But the question is, would you be able to handle it? I asked looking at her for a few seconds. I don't know, she answered. Good, she was honest about it at least. This can be tough. At least you're honest. We need to get you some fakeids and some new attire. You'd stand out like a sore thumb. I smirked, glancing at her clothes. The jeans were fine but she needs some plaid or plain shirts. Bella nodded looking out the window. I sighed. I didn't like anyone having their hands on the journal but she needed a mental lesson. Read up on everything John did as a hunter. I pulled over on the side of the road, feeling Bella's gaze on me. Why are we stopping? She asked. I stepped halfway out the car before looking back at her. Lesson time. I got out, going to trunk, lifting up the lid. Searching through the duffel bag, I felt the old binding, smiling. Here we go, I stated as I closed the trunk. I got back behind the wheel, handing it over to Bella. Our dad's journal. Many cases he worked on. Many common monsters are found in it. I thought it might be something to slowly get you accustomed. I pulled the car off the side, heading down the stretch of darkness. Bella glances at me before opening the journal to the first page. Yellow eyes would be the first demon. What do demons look like? She asked curiously. Any one of us. I answered. What do you mean? She whispered. They don't have horns or stand at 6 feet tall. They can look just as normal as you. Anybody. I answered. After that, I left her in silence. 25 miles later, and I found a gas station. Sam was finally awake, and Bella decided that she would go back to the seat she had once more. Sam slid behind the wheel as I filled up. I whistled softly, glancing around. I peered in the back window. Bella was curled up reading the journal with interest. I got into the passenger seat after filling up, closing my eyes before we even hit the road again. Blank, underscore, blank. I leaned against the car talking with Sam as Bella sat in the back asleep. There's a town over. We'll see if we find anything. Sam stated. If we do, we can't have another mishap. I responded. Sam nodded. Why don't we have Bobby train her? He asked. I shrugged, for some reason not liking the idea. I don't know. She doesn't seem like the hands-on type. We'll figure it out. I mumbled. Gee, glancing at our new member to this merry band of ours. You still think this is a good idea? I asked. Sam scoffed. No, I mean, I don't want her getting hurt. You didn't see what I saw, Dean. She attracts danger like a moth to a flame. We can't leave her alone. Besides, she still has a vampire problem. We can't leave her out there alone, and what if this vampire finds Bella and uses Bobby? The less contact the better. I nodded, understanding him. All right then. I walked back to the passenger side, nodding to Sam. As Sam pulled away from the rundown motel, I glanced back at Bella one more time. Hope she's worth it. Bella awoke as daylight hit. I was currently in the driver's seat, heading towards a small town located in Indiana. We had a good 2 hours to go. Sam seemed to find something interesting. It's the happy town, they call it. No violence, order, it's like cult. But just recently a family of 3 claimed the town was under a spell or something, as any type of noise created a disturbance. They found it unsafe as townspeople were gathering around their homes, smiling like maniacs and threatening them. Peachy, I muttered. May I see? Bella asked, looking to Sam. I followed the signs. As Bella started doing some typing shit I've only seen Sam do. Says the family lives 2 towns over. The Drexels, she hummed. Sam turned to her, perplexed. I looked everywhere for their address, but it was like they disappeared. How'd you find them? Bella gave the computer back, blushing. I hacked into a database, reverse searching the license plate in the photo. She smiled. I glanced at her in the rear view. Niece, I commented, smirking. What's the address, sweetheart? Blank, underscore, blank. Sam knocked on the door and I glanced at Bella, who was dressed similar to us. She had on dress pants, a loose-fitting white V-neck blouse or whatever she called it, black flats, and her hair pulled into a bun. She looked good. I had to remember that this girl was barely legal, even though she was 19. Give it till she's 20. God, what's wrong with me sometimes? The door opened to a man dressed in a polo and khaki shorts. May I help you? He asked. Sam and I held out our badges. Yes, we're Agent Lee and Michaels. This is our intern Shelley Bradwell. We wanted to ask you a few questions about a town you lived in not too long ago. York Village, otherwise now known as Happy Town. I answered. He raised his eyebrows. Oh sure, I didn't know the FBI checked into this kind of stuff. He answered but moved to let us in. Sam went inside first and I ushered Bella inside next. I walked inside, surveying the room. Yeah, we've gotten a few complaints, looking for someone. We happened to hear your family moved due to the town. Sam responded. His wife, I assumed, came from down the stairs. Yes, that town was god-awful. But it wasn't really people. It was the mayor, Mayor Fortson. It was like all the people were his followers. I'm happy we got out when we did, or our son would have been just like them. She whispered. Her blue eyes flickered upstairs. What do you mean? Bella asked, and I surveyed the house a little bit. Literally everything in here was white. White walls, kitchen like, damn, no splash of color. I'm sorry, I'm Carla Drexel. My son was changing Into those people. He was different. You know, before we left, his hair was starting to change colors. That's the thing about that town. Everybody had white hair, like they were all shocked by fear. He has a white strip in his hair. Her husband sat next to her on the couch holding her. May we go speak with him? Sam asked. Carla nodded. Sam and I took the stairs and I glanced at Bella, who was still downstairs. Do you remember anything about the mayor in particular? I kept going knowing Bella was fine. We knocked on the white door before turning the door handle. A teenage boy with long black hair and brown eyes was sitting in a chair listening to music. I could see what his mother meant. Down the middle, of his hair was a thick white strip of hair. Sam slowly tapped on his shoulder, making the boy jump. I held up my hands. We'd like to talk to you for a moment, I stated as he took his headphones out. Sure, what's up? He asked. What's with the strip kid? Kind of an X-Men vibe going on. Your mom says the town you guys used to live in was the reason for your hair. I commented, taking a seat on the bed. His eyes widened in slight fear and I glanced to Sam briefly. I never want to hear about that place again. It was weird, and even though you guys are the feds, I suggest staying far away. He shivered slightly. I remember running into the mayor and blacked out. I woke up with a white strip of hair. I was terrified for some reason. He had this air about him. I nodded, my mind going to a witch. His eyes, though, he trailed off. I leaned forwards. They were blue. I hummed, looking to Sam. Did the mayor have any tattoos? Sam asked. The kid shrugged. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I stood, patting his shoulder. You did good, kid. Thanks. So a djinn? I asked as Sam and I walked down the stairs. Yup, he answered. We looked to see Bella thanking the parents. You're welcome. You have a bright future ahead of you. Carla smiled. We nodded at the parents. The husband showed us out and we walked back to the car. It's a djinn? Bella asked as she got into the back seat. Did your homework, huh? Sam smiled and Bella nodded. How do you kill them and what happens to the victim? I asked, starting the car up. You can only kill them with a knife dipped in lamb's blood, and the victim are poisoned and under some type of hypnosis of their greatest desire. The only way to escape is to kill yourself. She answered. I smiled, proud. Nice job, Bella. She smiled. This type of djinn, though, is different. They're keeping their victims alive and feeding off fear. We decided to stay in a motel not too far from the town. We're pretty sure the mayor is the djinn. These types are not the usual hermits. I explained as Sam and I started getting the duffel bag ready. I looked to Bella sternly as Sam went out the door. Stay here. There's TV, store across the street, call us if you need anything. We might be gone for a few days. I told her. Bella gave me a small smile. Okay, Dean, I'm fine, really. I nodded, giving her the once-over. This was another person in my possession. I need Ed to keep her safe until she knew how to fend for her own. I closed the door after that, giving Sam the look. Don't, dude. T.S. 2 days later, I shoved the knife into the djinn, watching in satisfaction as it took its last breath. I took a deep breath, rolling my shoulders. I could totally use some pie. I smiled just thinking about it. Sam rolled his eyes. I just want a shower and some sleep. He chuckled. We walked to baby, and put our weapons in the back. Sam drove as I looked out the window. For a second, I almost forgot we had someone waiting on us. Strange to say the least. After pulling into the motel parking spot, we hopped out, wondering if our new hunter-to-be was all right. I went inside first, the smell of Chinese food hitting me instantly. I looked to Sam, surprised. As Sam closed the door, we noticed Bella curled up in a chair facing the door, sleeping. She had one of our guns and a motel knife in her lap, John's journal in her hand. Sam plucked it from her, keeping her place. I.W. watched silently as he lifted her into one of the beds. It was different having a woman wait on us. We were used to being alone. A part of me welcomed it, but another made me tense for what I knew what was to come. Sooner or later she'd be collateral, pulling Sam and I by our strings. Dean Pav. 2 weeks with Bella Swan was a journey. Sam and I are trying our best with getting her accustomed. To be honest, she wasn't so bad shooting anyway. Fighting. Different story. It had to be something she had to feel for. It's literally a fight to the death in this life. She had to be ready. Left, right, left, block, I repeated, throwing light punches her way. I could tell she was tired, but on a job, no matter how tired, you kept going. 2 more and then we stop. Got it. Bella nodded, her body drenched in sweat as she threw rather hard punches at me. I wasn't afraid of being hit. I worked on the physical, Sam showed her the research, and we both taught protocol. Basic things to do during a haunting. I asked, standing across from her. This was now hours later and at Bobby's. Check for cold spots, use salt or iron, EMF detector, check if body is buried or cremated, if cremated, find the object they're tied to and burn it. I nodded. Good. Demons? I asked. She frowned some. It depends, kick ass, exorcise it or stab it right. With Ruby. That's her name right, whatever blade she has. I nodded again. Forget the knife, we kick ass, trap the son of a bitch, exorcise it if possible. So pretty much every weapon we have can kill something. Sam explained. Bella nodded smiling looking a tad overwhelmed. Okay sounds fun. I need to call Charlie. I'll be right back. Bella stood walking past Sam and I. I watched her for a moment before turning to Sam. What do you think? I asked. Sam leaned against the table thinking. We won't know until she's out there. Blank, underscore, blank. Wyoming. Amy Rivers was a single mother living in Wyoming. She just moved into a small Woe-story house with her 16-year-old daughter Normani. Norm, time for school baby, she yelled upstairs. Coming. Amy smiled going back to the kitchen finishing up the light breakfast. She hummed and looked at the time. They were going to be late. Normani, let's go. Breakfast and we need to be leaving in the next 10 minutes. She yelled again, wondering what was taking her daughter so long. She sighed hearing cabinets close and doors open. Jesus, she whispered. As she made her way towards the stairs the front door opened, revealing her daughter throwing her for a loop. Normani, she asked looking at her daughter. She gave her a confused look. I thought you were upstairs. Amy said. Normani shook her head holding up the leash. I was taking puddles outside remember. Amy went pale. Then who was upstairs? She whispered. In a spur of the moment, Amy ran upstairs, Normani following after. Mom, what are you talking about? Who's upstairs? Normani stopped behind her mom glancing around her. What's? She gasped seeing a young girl standing in front of them. Why'd you leave me mommy? Why'd you betray me? It was a teenage girl who looked as if she's been covered in nothing but dirt. She stood in front of them. Her eyes bleeding red, her mouth opened wide as she let out a howl-like scream. Amy and Normani screamed making a run for the stairs. They almost fell as Normani grabbed puddles and ran out the door. Before Amy could make it out the door, it slammed shut as if jammed. Normani banged on the outside screaming for her mother drawing the attention of a few neighbors. She screamed in fright as blood oozed, outlining her shoes. Blank, underscore, blank. Dean Pav. All right. Yes, yes. Love you too. Tell Sue I said hello. Bella hung up the phone as she came down the stairs. I offered her a cup of coffee and she nodded in thanks. She smiled as she sat, humming. Thank you Dean. Where's Sam? She asked looking to me. Research. He thinks he found a case. I answered. I grabbed my gun loading it. Here. I handed Bella one, sighing as she just stared at me. What? It doesn't bite. I spoke dangling it. She grabbed it, tucking it into her pants. Thanks just not used to carrying one. She said taking a sip. It takes a minute. You'll be fine. Bella nodded. I don't know, I'm just anxious. What if something goes wrong? What if I screw something up? She asked her brown eyes going wide. I put the salt in the duffel bag glancing at her. Can't think like that Bella. Go in with a clear head. There's nothing you can screw up that we already haven't. Trust me, we screwed up a lot. I gave her a humorless chuckle, shaking my head. Like what? She asked curiously. You don't wanna know. I responded taking the duffel bag outside. I opened the trunk dropping it in. Dean. I gave a startled grunt glaring at the angel. Do you come with a bell? I asked closing the trunk. Saz cocked his head to the side. Forget it. What is it? Any word on Lucifer? I asked. No, but, I nodded for him to go on, making my way back inside. Bella looked up at us, her eyes gazing at Saz. I want to search for God. Bella coughed and I looked at her for a moment before turning to face him. What? I asked staring at him in disbelief. I said I cut him off there. I know what you said. You still want to look for him after he's been nowhere. Lucifer is somewhere roaming this earth and you want to look for God? I asked. Bella's hand on my arm startled me for a moment. She was looking at Saz incuriously in amazement. God is real. Does that mean other things from the Bible are real? I heard Dean say Lucifer. He's real, like the devil, evil, devil. Saz nodded. Yes, it is all real Isabella. He stated. Bella, she corrected. He nodded. Why do you have to find him? Is he not in heaven? She asked. I looked to her shaking my head. He's never met him. Her brow furrowed as she stared at me and then Saz. I've never seen God. I have faith, but we need him. I rolled my eyes stepping away. Yeah, and where was he when Lucifer was let out of the cage? I snapped. Sauce said nothing, staring at me. The air was tense and the only thing making me back down was the wide-eyed girl watching us in hesitance. I sighed. Sauce, I don't think you're going to find him, but it's up to you. He disappeared before my eyes and I knew he was upset with me. Sam came down the stairs looking at us both before shaking his head. I found something. Right in the middle of Wyoming, a daughter witnessed a girl kill her mother. Said the girl appeared out of nowhere and chased them down the stairs. The mother, Amy, wasn't able to make it and all she could hear was screaming and then silence as blood pooled from the front door. I raised a brow. Ghost. We're sure it's not another human like last time because that bitch was crazy. I sighed. Human. I just shook my head. Story for another time. Well, let's get packing. I said. Blank. Blank. I threw my head back in annoyance. How long does it take one girl to shop? I groaned. Sam chuckled. She's a girl, Dean. Besides, we told her that we need to be prepared for anything. I groaned again. Yeah, but this chick has been in there for a freaking hour. Thank God there she is. What the hell is all that? I stared wide-eyed at the amounts of bags in her hands. Sam gawked as well, blinking. Holy hell. I got out the car as a worker of sorts was carrying another handful of bags. Did you buy the whole store, Bella? I asked. Bella shrugged, struggling somewhat. I grabbed at about 10 bags, just looking at her in disbelief. What's in here? I asked, opening the car door. Bella said nothing as she put a few bags in. She turned, taking the bags from the kid that was helping her. Thanks, Logan. She smiled. I rolled my eyes at the starstruck look on the boy's face. Why, you're welcome. Hey, do you want to maybe? I stopped listening to the embarrassing moment. She's good, pal. I muttered, plucking the last few bags from her hands. He leaned in, looking at Bella. Your brother? Oh God, no. I grabbed Bella's hand, leading her to the other side of the car. I glared at him over the top of the car. Dude, I'm not her brother. To prove my point, I smacked her ass, smiling internally as I hit nothing but cheek. Bella gasped, glaring at me, turning a shade of pink. She got into the car and I smirked at the kid. Getting into the car, I sped off laughing. Sam shook his head. Dean is crass sometimes. You'll get used to it. Bella just shook her head, smiling. So he's slapped your ass quite a few times too. Sam laughed and I had to smile. She was making things just a little bit more bearable. Blank. I flashed my badge as I walked into the home. Agents Flats and Harris, FBI. I grimaced, stepping over the blood. What's it look like, Doc? I asked the coroner. He looked at me, his eyes in disbelief. It's like she was split open. I hummed, making eye contact with Bella. She nodded, making her way upstairs. BPOV. I never thought I'd be doing something like this. Hunting. It was crazy, and to find out that God was real. This world was interesting to say the least. I took out the EMF detector, walking through the hall. The little noise it emitted was eerie, as it was lighting up like a Christmas tree. I slowly walked down the hall, my heart slightly racing. I took a deep breath, making my way into one of the bedrooms. The gadget in my hand went silent and I could feel the hairs on my neck stand up. Find anything? Dean asked, making me jump. I turned around, laying a hand to my chest. Yeah, I stopped as I realized there was nobody in the room. You're not my mommy. She must pay. I sucked in a breath as a girl materialized in front of me. She had dirty brown hair. Her face smudged with mud. My eyes took in the golden necklace that shined. I reached for the salt in my pocket, freezing as she disappeared. Get out. I heard whisper in my ear, sending cold chills down my spine. Next thing I knew, I was flying through the air and into the hallway. I hit the wall hard, knowing I was going to look banged up. Bella, I heard Dean shout, his footsteps pounding up the stairs. I'm fine. I groaned, standing up slowly. Warm hands wrapped around my waist, steadying me. I looked into eyes of green. What happened? He asked, looking around. Definitely a ghost. Whoever she was, she's pissed at her mom. Why, Ms. Rivers looked the way she did too. I explained, shaking off this slight limp. Dean helped me down the stairs and I'm not ashamed to say that when his hands left, I was a little disappointed. All right, a ghost with mommy issues. Peachy. Okay, we need to find out who she is and burn the bones. Simple. If only. Dean Pav. I read through the history of the home, finding no death records. Well, that's a bust. I muttered, handing the file to Bella. Damn. Well, did any of these family have kids? She asked. I shook my head. She sighed, flipping through it. I noticed her rubbing her leg. Sore? I asked. I caught her eyes as she looked at me. A little. She smiled. Ready to give up? I joked. She shook her head. No, that's like giving my life to her. She whispered. I hummed. Tell me about her, I asked, turning to watch her closely. She sighed, putting the folder to the side. We made eye contact and I knew she wasn't looking at me. Victoria is relentless, cunning, evil. She will stop at nothing until my head is on a platter. She wants me dead, it's simple. She wants to torture me until I'm dead. She'll stop at nothing, kill anyone she needs to just to get to me, she said, shivering. She looked down at her shaking hands. I reached forward, tucking a few strands behind her ear. I grasped her hands, the shaking stopping instantly. I won't let her, I vowed. She shook her head. There are things out here that I can't even begin to imagine that you already hunt with your brother. She's a cold one. You, me, we mean nothing to her. She will crush us with her bare hands and not even care. She took in a shaky breath. I narrowed my eyes and shook my head. Bella, she's the one that means nothing to us. She won't get you and she won't hurt us. There is nothing she can do that's already been done to me. Trust me, I said. She nodded, squeezing my hands. The door opened, interrupting our moment. I cleared my throat, turning back around, looking at Sam. Anything? I asked, starting the car. No, nothing. All I've got is pictures and addresses of past owners. No deaths, not even any past incidents. Why now? I watched curiously as Bella leaned in between us. Wait, who's that? I peered over as she pointed to a brunette woman with dark blue eyes. Darla Morrison. Lived in the house almost. She moved out 2 weeks ago. Sam explained. That's the mother. The ghost was wearing that exact same necklace, Bella stated. I pulled out into traffic, not knowing what could be lying ahead. Blank, underscore, blank. Sam knocked on the door. I tightened my tie, glancing at Bella. She had this look on her face I couldn't decipher. The door opened to our dear mother Darla. Can I help you? She asked, looking at us all sweetly. Darla, is it? We need to speak with you. Bella spoke, her brown eyes swimming with emotions that I knew all too well. Darla was hesitant. I'm sorry, but do I know you? I shook my head. No, but we know your daughter, I stated. I stopped the door from closing with hand, giving her a look. Now is that any way to treat a guest? I pushed the door open. This is serious. A woman is dead. Can we please come in? I asked. Darla stepped to the side, letting us in. I stepped in first, noticing the salt lying around. Sam gave a humorless chuckle, glancing at me. Well, he whispered. I know this looks weird, she stated, crossing over the salt and into the living room. I realized that every inch of this house must be covered. It really doesn't. Why are there no records of your daughter? And why is she so pissed? I asked, crossing into the living room. She sighed, sitting down, looking at her hands. I had Tina at a young age. When she got older, I just didn't want to be a mother any longer. She was hindering me from doing what I needed, and when I moved with her, I didn't let anyone see her. I didn't want anyone to know, she trailed off. So you killed her? Bella asked. I looked to see her standing on the other side of the salt line. Darla nodded, staring at Bella. Where's the body? She asked, looking sad and angry. Blank, underscore, blank. Bella Pav. I covered my mouth and nose, wanting to throw up. I looked away as I got a look at the girl. She wasn't that much younger than me. Dean lifted the body into his arms, carrying her down the stairs and outside. She was in the walls, just rotting. To me though, I felt like Darla was hiding something. Something must have happened to her to just kill her child, one she didn't love. I stood to the set as the fire crackled, creating a glow in the dark sky. My mind filled with past memories of my own mother. I blinked as a flash of white caught my eyes. Shaking my head a little, I rubbed my eyes. I was tired as all. Hey, come on. Sam waved his hand in front of me and I nodded. Once we got in our little motel room, we were all slumped. I decided that in the morning, I wanted to do one thing. Next morning, I read the article a few times, shaking my head in pity and in anger. Darla gave birth at 17, due to rape by an unknown assailant. She kept the child, but she had to live with the product of the trauma experienced. I didn't want to read anymore as I closed down the library laptop. I grabbed my backpack, heading out the door. The sky was cloudy, and as I made my way towards the Impala, I noticed a pale figure across the street. Golden eyes stared at me. In a blink, he was gone. My ears rang and my heart pounded. I didn't want him in my life anymore. If he was here, then so was she. Eyes of green met my vision. Dean's words were muffled as he spoke to me. His hand was on my cheek as he shook me. Hey, what's wrong? I swallowed. He's here, Dean was confused until recognition hit. He looked around before grabbing my hand. He led me to the car, getting me inside. Sam Pav. I watched as my brother became the most caring person in the world. His arms were wrapped around Bella as she shook slightly. Just looking at him, I knew there was something about her that he needed. She wasn't anywhere near his type, and maybe that was a good thing. He'd do her differently than all the others. She was something I think we both needed. I knew though that Dean wasn't to give her up. Not to anything or anyone. I looked outside the window, seeing the pale boy across the street. We've got company. Bella Pav. I shivered slightly in Dean's hold at Sam's confirmation of Edward's arrival. Be strong, Dean whispered in my ear. I nodded, taking in a deep breath. I pulled away from Dean, smiling slightly as he pushed my hair from my face. He gave me a small smile and nodded at me, then his face hardened as he went to Sam's side. Sam beckoned me forward as Dean went to the door, opening it. Sam stood slightly in front of me, his arm out protectively. I could see only a little as I was very short compared to Sam's height. Don't be afraid, Bella, his velvet voice whispered, making my skin crawl. You're right, she shouldn't, but you should, Dean said, his arms crossed in front of him. With Sam's approval, I slipped in between him and Dean, standing next to them both. You need to leave. Victoria will just have another way to find me, I said calmly, my heart beating so fast I thought it would stop. I can protect you, Edward insisted, his golden eyes sincere, holding a hand out. I shook my head. Look how well that turned out. I shook my head. Edward's eyes flickered to Dean and Sam, confused. I could tell he was trying to read their minds. I just hoped that they practiced. Try thinking of a song or some little thing that means nothing to you. She'll never love you. I got a glimpse of the things you did. You're quite evil for a human. He's no better. He looked to me, his eyes changing instantly. I always thought I was a monster. Soulless. But did you know he had no soul? Literally, he was inhuman. I looked to Sam, and he glanced at me curiously. I could see it in his eyes though. Whatever he did then was someone he wasn't now. But he's not. I'd rather prefer these two soulless, or with souls. They'd never leave me unprotected, I said, grasping briefly both their arms. Giving it a squeeze. The air was tense, Edward staring us down. I'll prove it to you, Edward vowed before disappearing. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. That went well, I chirped, smiling for some odd reason at the two of them. They just looked at one another before heading back inside, me on their heels. Dean handed me a duffel bag. He held up a finger, as he made some movements with his hands. I blinked a few times, looking to Sam, who shrugged. Just get to the damn car. He sighed, exasperated. Dude, it looked like you were trying to demonstrate a monkey trying to have sex. I let out a laugh, covering my mouth with my hand at Dean's glare. Going, I answered, Sam right behind me. I snorted as Sam and I put the bags in the back. When he closed it down, I took a look at him, groaning at the kink that would be in my neck. Is it true? You had no soul? I asked. Sam leaned on the car and nodded, staring in the distance. Yeah, I had no soul. You see, I went to hell, real hell. With fire, demons, monsters. But I was stuck in a cage. Sam whispered. I listened intently as his voice changed. With the devil, and my other brother, Adam. We didn't know about him until recently. Dean and I, according to every high-power angel and demon, we were born to play a part in a war. A war between good and evil. I wasn't still in the vessel, for Lucifer. And Dean Michael. I started the war or apocalypse really. When I was born, a demon bled into my mouth and killed our mother when I was just 6 months old. Dean went to hell after selling his soul for my life when I died. During that time I was all kinds of crazy. I hung around with a demon, named Ruby, drinking her blood, because it made me stronger. My ultimate goal was to avenge Dean's death. To stop Lucifer. Lilith, Lucifer's right hand, she sent hellhounds when Dean's deal was up. I thought killing her would stop Lucifer, but I was wrong. Killing Lilith was the final key to freeing Lucifer. The Cold One was right. We really are no good. Sam looked down, chuckling to himself. Sam, none of this was your fault. Dean's. You said that even angels said this is what you had to do. It's nobody's fault but their own. Using two humans in a war they could fight themselves. Don't beat yourselves up over it. It's my fault I'm in this mess of my own. Edward warned me about himself. I was the cat who was killed by curiosity. My life is just a matter of who takes it and when. I sighed. Sam's hand landed on my shoulder with a gentle squeeze. We'll protect you. You're kind of stuck with us. He smiled. I cocked my head to the side. What do you mean? I asked. Well, when Castiel first told us about you, basically, you were going to meet us sometime in your future. Just a matter of when. Just stick with us. And I won't lie, you know, death will follow us around. Dean and I have died I don't know how many times. And somehow we've always been brought back either by our own will, or someone else's. And if you're as important as he says you are, then maybe they too have a plan for you. He explained. Should I be worried? I joked. Sam gave a small laugh. Yeah, you really should. Blank, underscore, blank. Dean Pav. I glanced in the back seat, my mind going back to the mind reader. I did let something slip. Did I love her? No. Was I into her? Yes. But he was right, she'd never love me. I lost anybody I ever loved. Lisa and Ben were lost to me. Sam was the only one left. All I had, and according to Cass, so was Bella. What did you see when Cass touched your head? I asked lowly, looking to Sam briefly. He glanced at me and then back at Bella's sleeping form. A lot and so little. I guess the blurs were the Cullens. She was with us. Cass too. Hunting. Like a family, I guess. You're thinking about what he said, right? He asked and I nodded. Well, he's wrong. It was all fuzzy really, but she's sure not with me, and I don't even think Cass can love a human. Romantically. I see how you were with her. You like her. I just grunted in response. Hey, if you can find it and keep it, by all means go for it. I just shook my head, turning up the volume just a little. I glanced in the back seat again, smiling. Just a little bit. I knew something big would happen sooner or later. T.S. Dean Pav. I sank into the motel bed tired. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Bella cleaning the machete. She threw me a smile. I always thought vampires could only be torn limb from limb. But their heads can be chopped clean off. She chuckled to herself and I just groaned, rolling on my back. See, you had fun. You really are a weird chick, Bella. She snorted and shrugged. I closed my eyes, already needing a good 4 hours. Until I felt someone standing over me. I blinked one eye open. Bella standing over me. You need to shower. Go on. And eat. I know you two do your own thing here, but I'm surprised you two are still alive. I'm going to go see if there is some fast food place. We have a kitchen, so I might try to find a grocery store. Go on. I grumbled as I sat up and shook my head. As I went to the bathroom, I turned back around. Take Sam with you. He's asleep. Bella, it's not that important. You don't need to be out there alone. Your ex, she cut me off with a look, won't do anything to me. He just knows he can lose me that way. I'll be fine, Dean. Be back in 30. I'll call. She had my keys and was gone in a second. I raked my hand through my hair and glanced at Sam, getting in the shower. Bella Pav. I was lucky enough to find a Walmart a few miles down the road. Lucky the little motel had the basics: pot, pan, forks and spoons. I decided to make something quick and easy. Something hefty for the boys. Spaghetti. I grabbed the pack of ground beef from the frozen section, making my way towards the cans and noodles section. Excuse me, miss. I turned around and bent down as a little boy was smiling at me. He had an envelope in his hands. Well, hello, aren't you cute? Are you lost? I asked, glancing around for his parents. He giggled, shaking his head. He TMY hair, indicating he wanted to whisper in my ear. The lady with the red hair wanted you to have this. He whispered. Timothy, leave that poor woman alone. I'm sorry. I just smiled, leaning up to my full height, my heart slightly jumping. I pulled the envelope open, looking around. It was just a single white paper. It said shish. I felt around the envelope and pulled out what happened to be pictures. Of me, Dean and Sam. Dean and I just talking not even 20 minutes ago. I flipped them over to see a message. 2 days. Leave and I'll kill your friends. Just like Daddy. I realized that the ink was red dark. A dark red. Red clouded my vision as I stuffed the pictures back inside. Ian grabbed all the other ingredients I needed. I went to the backpack section, grabbing a backpack for my own personal needs. I didn't stop once I pulled out a few extra weapons from Dean's trunk, filling my bag. I was lucky that both men were asleep when I returned. Only the smell of food, waking them. I wanted to run my fingers through their hair as they ate greedily and tiredly. One last time, when they went immediately back to sleep, I wrote a quick note, leaving the envelope. I briefly ran my hands through Sam's hair, envious of the silkiness, and I kissed Dean's cheek, putting his keys down by the desk. I softly closed the door as I made my way down the steps and made eye contact with the manager. I slipped him $100, making sure he'd never seen me leave. I walked across the street, and into the night, ready. I'm ready, I whispered. Blank, underscore, blank. Dean Pav. I stretched slightly full from the night before and groaned in satisfaction. I sat up, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. To see Sam reading something. What's that? I mumbled getting up. I looked around the room, seeing no sign of Bella. Bella went to fetch breakfast. I asked hopefully, Stoppy. Once I noticed my keys were on the dresser. No, she went to fetch a vampire. Sam handed me the note, I skimmed it quickly. She's hunting her. Why? I asked. Sam handed me a few photos, and I read the messages on the back. This is some crazy ass bitch. Why would she go alone? I don't get it. I swear that when I find her, and she better hope I find her first, I'm going to kick her ass. I snapped. How could she be so idiotic? Bella only knew the basics, and maybe she had a little more experience with cold ones, but not the reaction time. They were faster than normal vampires, we at least had some time. Damn it. I packed up what we had, and even Bella left her belongings. No need tracking her phone, she left it. I said, tossing it in her bag. I glanced at the spaghetti that sat in plates. Was that why she cooked dinner? She knew she was going to leave. I grabbed the plates, handing one to Sam. He grabbed his bag and looked around. We walked down the few steps and I went to the car as Sam checked out. I put the bags in the back, and waited for Sam. What? I asked, noticing the look on his face. He says he saw her leave. She paid him $100 to keep silent. She just walked across the street and kept walking. He put his bag in, as I got into the driver's seat, and started up baby. We sat the plates on the backseat. Who are you calling? I asked. Cass. He answered. I snapped my fingers. That's right, he'd be able to track her. She doesn't have the tattoo yet, nor the Enochian on her ribs. Hey, we're in Minnesota, passing mile marker 89, right past the, he stopped talking. Gee, as I glanced in the back seat to see Cass looking confused. Where is Bella? He asked, glancing at us both. We were hoping you knew. I answered. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. I cannot sense her. Something is blocking me. He cocked his head to the side. What do you mean something is blocking you? I asked, pulling over to the side of the road. It means that there is some force protecting her from me. He explained. Is that a good or bad thing? Sam asked. I don't know. She has a mental shield, protecting her from all mental abilities. Might explain it. I leaned back in the seat, exasperated. So while she's hunting Victoria, we don't know where she is? I asked, looking at the road stretched out before us. Victoria, she's chasing her, Cass stated. I narrowed my eyes at him. You sound like you know something. Sam glanced at me and then at Cass. Yes, only I never thought it would be this soon. This is a good thing. She will be fine. I reared back. Fine, hunting a vampire. What do you know? I asked. Cass looked at me and sighed. He looked reluctant. What? Sam asked. 2 months down the line, you three were going to hunt together. Victoria. Something goes wrong, something happened. Bella gets turned. She begs one of you to kill her before she starts to change. Dean, too conflicted with emotions, cannot do it, and Sam cannot destroy someone he considered family. So on the day she awakes, I tear her apart limb from limb, burning her in front of you. I sucked in a breath. I would've. I shook my head in denial. No, you wouldn't have. I know the mind reader has visited you. You fear she will never see you past a protector. Sam did not tell you what he saw. I forgot it looks different to humans. Why do you think she's here with you now? You fall in love with her. You two consummate a bond, sexually, emotionally, spiritually. That is why you wouldn't have killed her. She is meant for you in every way possible, and as much as you'd like to think she'll die, she won't, and the times that she does, she will be brought back. And not because God says so, you say so. Burning her, she would have been truly gone. Like I showed Sam, no matter when or how, Bella is either meant to be in your lives or die. Her life was altered the moment she met Edward Cullen. And even more so when you two strolled into town. She will be fine, but you won't see her for quite some time. I glanced up at him, looking at his face. What are you talking about? I asked. I pursed my lips as he disappeared. Damn it, Cass. I got out of the car, and closed the door, laying my head on the roof of the car. Sam got out and stood across from me. Dean, if Cass says she'll be fine, she will be. I don't like this either, but you heard him. We'll see her again, he stated. I pursed my lips and just scoffed. Just find me a case. I muttered, getting back into the car and starting it. Sam got in and nodded. I pulled off the side, not knowing how I felt. Third Pav. It's been 7 months since the boys last saw Bella Swan. Assured only by Cass that she was still alive, but he never knew any details. Dean and Sam did what they always did. The family business. Things got crazy though. In those 7 months, a new threat gave rise. Leviathans. The gates of hell were opened and escaped out were these disgusting creatures. Vile. Not a day went by though that Bella didn't cross their minds. Especially Dean's. He just wanted to see her eyes, just once. To know she was okay. With his own eyes. Even now, as he and Sam burned the bones of a ghost. He hoped that Bella was safe. Wondering when she'd come back to them. He almost felt betrayed, but knew that if he stopped her she'd be lost to him. Forever. But for Bella Swan things were going just the way she wanted. Kind of. In a dark, large room. The echoing of screams filled the air as Bella's arm was broken for the 3rd time in the last 3 months. Victoria stood over her, her red eyes wild. I'm happy I didn't kill you. I hope you're feeling everything he felt. A rock-hard fist hit her in the face, her head rolling to the side. That's all you got? She snorted, breathing heavily. Her vision blurred as she was hanging upside down. Bella winced, hearing the cracking of her rib. She coughed, blood leaking from her lips. A knee came down on her nose, breaking it instantly. Victoria's cold tongue slid down Bella's cheek. Delicious. She smiled, licking her fingers. Bella's eyes widened at the slice through her arm, a bloody V, etched so neatly into her skin. Victoria gave out a laugh, before frowning. This can't be. Her red eyes flickered towards Bella's. She shook with rage, but then suddenly stopped looking peaceful. You know I am ready. To be with my James. But I'm taking you with me. Bella was cut down, landing on the hard floor with force. Lights flashed behind Bella's eyes as Victoria banged her head against the concrete repeatedly. Despite all the pain, Bella felt peace. Knowing that this was the end. Bella saw the 3 kings as she blinked slowly. None of them paying her a glance. They looked like the pictures. Edward's concerned face made her smile. I'm all good, take me. She mumbled, her eyes drooping. Edward looked to his father concerned. Carlisle, she's not. He protested, still never have lost the feelings of love for her, but understanding who Bella real. Lee was inside after this long drawn-out wait. You promised. Bella chastised softly. She winced at being lifted, her battered body dangling limp in Edward's arms. Okay, Dimitri, Edward called. Dimitri nodding, searching Edward's mind. Sending Edward the mental location. Edward has to shake his head. I hope you make it. Hold on, Bella. Edward was running in an instant, a blur in the woods. Once far from the city they resided. He grabbed the flashiest and fastest car possible, and after laying Bella in the back seat, he took off like a bat out of hell. This drive was 3 hours long and he was terrified Bella wouldn't make it. Edward made a deal with the girl he still loved. Help her kill Victoria, and the best bet was the Volturi. The angels will never admit it, but they knew of the existence of the 3 kings. Every decade warning them of which humans were strictly off limits, and Bella Swan was one of them. Edward never stopped, and after realizing that Bella no longer loved him he helped. He really despised it at first. He was lucky to have found her first. Her happiness was all that mattered. Maybe once she'd healed, he'd try again, but he didn't think he had the heart. Really. Zing, what lengths Bella would go to avenge her father, and save these strangers. He realized Bella was not what he wanted, but he did truly love her. He could hear Bella's heartbeat flutter softly. Faintly. Bella, how about you promise me something? He asked, keeping her attention on him. Don't give up, he stated and watched as Bella nodded and closed her eyes. Edward screeched to a halt in front of the small motel. Not caring about speed, as he gently picked Bella up. He looked for door number 12, spotting it instantly. He made his way towards it hastily, holding Bella in one hand gently and using the other to knock rapidly. He heard a groan and heavy footsteps. The door opened to the tall one, Sam. His eyes widened as he took in the sight before him. He took Bella from Edward, gently, staring him down. What did you do? He asked. Edward shook his head. I didn't. It's a long story. Victoria did this and Bella wanted revenge. When Victoria was finally dead, would I bring her to you? She didn't want a hospital. Edward stayed sadly. Sam carried her to the bed, calling Dean from the bathroom. Dean. Edward watched as Dean came from the bathroom in a towel, his green eyes immediately landing on him, and then to Bella. She's been with you all this time? He asked, storming towards Edward. Castiel's appearance in front of Dean stopped him short. Edward took a step backwards, sensing something strange about the creature before him. Stop. I sensed Bella the moment she landed in this room. Step aside, Sam. Edward watched in curiosity as the man laid his hands on her forehead, her body healing somewhat. He could hear the bones reset in her body and was even more cautious. I've healed her partially. Her shield still prevents me from healing her fully. Mentally her mind is restoring itself. Some physical wounds I cannot heal. I suggest you take her to seek medical attention. Edward could pale if possible as the strange creature turned and looked at him. Edward stared in his piercing blue eyes. You have a soul. It's cold but you have a soul. You're not like your father. Edward furrowed his brow in confusion. My father? He asked, sifting through his human memories. Not your biological father. The Alpha. You're a different breed, but you don't derive right from him. All creations like you come from hell. But God gave you cold one's souls. When you die and on E-day your soul will be weighed by a gold plate. Your good must outdo your bad. Edward stared at nothing as Cass disappeared. He blinked a few times, the two men staring at him. She sustained a lot of bleeding. If you let me I'll drive you to the hospital and you'll never hear from me again. He offered. Dean scoffed and went to bathroom, grabbing his clothes from the chair. Sam glanced at him, then squatted down to Bella's level, checking her over. He stood and hummed lifting her into his arms. Bella was limp, unconscious. Dean came out the bathroom and spared Edward no glance as he grabbed his keys. Hospital is about an hour out. Edward laid a hand on Dean's shoulder, wanting to retract it at the man's thoughts. I will shove my knife so far up your. I can drive there in 30. I've got fast reflexes. This is the least I can do. Please, he begged. Sam glanced at his brother. Dean, make a decision. Her pulse is weak. Cass wasn't wrong. She needs a hospital now. Dean just stared at Edward, turning to look at Bella. Fine, I don't ever want to see you near us again. Dean handed Edward the keys who refused. Your car won't work. I've got another. Edward led them to the red Porsche Cayenne that sat in the parking lot. Goes up to just about 200. Edward stated, getting into the front seat. He glanced back as Dean slid in the back with Bella and Sam up front. EDW. Art started the car and pulled out of the parking lot, hitting the gas. Sam held onto the seat tense, realizing Edward wasn't kidding. Watch R for the. Sam stuttered, his eyes wide. You're worse than Bella, he told Sam. Sam just pursed his lips. Edward weaves through traffic, both humans' hearts racing wildly as they watched him and the road. Car, Dean shouted as a car pulled out in front of them. Edward quickly swerved around it, the car honking in protest. Edward scoffed and looked back at Dean. I got this. Edward pushed the car to the max, speeding down the almost vacant road. Dean stared down at Bella. All blood was gone from her body, but her face was black and blue, her body so pale. Her hair brittle, she even looked a little skinnier. He raised his hand to her face, stroking her cheek softly. Damn it, he muttered, just taking her in. Her eyes had dark circles under them, one of her eyes black, and shut. She looked like she got beat up by mobsters. Edward watched for a second, before focusing on his task. What happened to her? Dean asked. Edward glanced at him for a moment before sighing. When Bella left you, she was on the hunt for revenge, as you know. I was already tracking her. When I caught sight of Bella. At first I thought you left her, or hurt her, until she told me her plan. I wouldn't sit by and let her walk into the line of fire, but in her eyes, I saw the vengeance. We let Victoria capture her, and as a result she made Bella live hell for the last 7 months. The Volturi, the kings of my world, didn't like the attention nor the savagery she was causing. They stepped in. Edward got no response, just angry thoughts. Edward was also curious. The creature, he trailed off. What creature? Sam asked. The man who healed Bella, what is it? Edward motioned towards her semi-healed form. An angel. Edward saw nothing. What did he mean by, my father? Alpha. Edward glanced at Sam, who straightened up in his seat. Every species has a creator. Your species has an alpha vampire. The strongest of its kind, maybe even stronger than you wouldn't want to meet him. Edward intently read the thoughts of Sam, sifting through images of this, Alpha. That's a vampire, he asked in distaste. Sam just nodded. The car was silent after that, Edward making it to the hospital in half the time. He watched helplessly as Dean carried Bella out of the car, and straight into the hospital. He sighed. Sam got out of the car and looked at Edward. I don't think it's a good thing to be around you. You brought her back and we're thankful, but it's time for her to really move on. Look. If we never find you, she lived. But if you happen to see us in a few days ready to torch you, you already know what happened. With that, Sam walked away, not Lou. King back and Edward too turned, leaving his past behind. Oh Sam, Edward called. Sam turned around and raised his hand, catching the keys. Dean does forgive you for everything. You're all he thinks about aside from Bella and the angel. Sam just nodded and walked through the hospital doors. Dean was already in the waiting room, with his head down. Hey, how's her condition? He asked. Dean scrubbed a hand over his face. She's okay. Just not as okay as I would have hoped, but Doc said she'd be okay. She'll be in ICU for a few days, but she might be in a coma. They won't know until tomorrow morning. Dean said, just looking at his brother. Sam patted his shoulder, and waited as well. It was a long wait for the boys and an even longer night as they each found a chair in her hospital room to sleep on. Cass was invisible to them, as he watched the poor girl. He laid his hand on her forehead, using all his will. Isabella wouldn't die today or tomorrow, he thought. Castiel, what are you doing? He looked up to see one of his brothers. Saving her, he explained as if it were obvious. She dies, you know this. His brother explained, looking disappointed. Cass shook his head. You, forget brother, it is Dean Winchester who decides her fate. With him she is nothing, and without Sam, Dean is nothing. They will not survive with the other. Bella and Sam would be destroyed if they lost. Dean and Dean would never go on without Sam. You know this, they'll do anything to save each other. She is no different. Cass snapped his fingers and was gone. Bella blinked, her eyes open slowly, first resting on Dean then Sam. She was home. Sam Pav. I felt eyes on me, making me open my own. Bella was in the hospital bed, just staring at me with a look I've seen much before. Hey, I whispered, leaning up to sit up straight. She gave me a smile, her voice just as low as mine. Hey, her eyes went to Dean, who was asleep diagonally across from me. Is he? She trailed off, giving him a once-over. He's fine, I reassured, just worried. We both were, I said. She took in a deep breath, nodding to herself, and I noticed the tears forming. I'm so sorry, but I had to. She looked at me, begging for me to understand. I got up and went to her side. Hey, I understand. We know why. I've done the same. Both of us. We're not upset with you. I sat on the edge of the bed, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. She burrowed her face in my jacket, nodding. You're all healed up, I see. That's good, I said, hoping to divert her attention from the negative. She was almost too healed up after looking like what she did just hours ago. Yeah, I am. I feel good. Did Castiel? Victoria really did a number on me. She showed me her arm, tracing the V. I ran my finger over it curiously. But she's gone now. Edward told us what happened. He's the reason you're here actually. I said, watching Dean. I remember that slightly. We had a deal. He pulled through. I'm assuming he's gone. She asked me. I nodded, looking back down at her. Yeah, he is. He won't be coming back, but I'm sure you already knew that. She nodded, giving me a small smile. Yeah, and I'm happy with that. It's all finally over for that chapter in my life. I chuckled quietly and smoothed her hair down a bit. Okay, I'm here to check on our patient. I moved out of the way as a nurse came through, checking on Bella's vitals. Wow honey, you healed up good. We didn't think you were going to make it through the night. You almost slipped into a coma on us. It's like you've got an angel watching over you. I could see Bella trying to hold her smile, and I had to let out a chuckle of my own. Alright, move your head to the side for me. I turned my attention to Dean, who was slowly waking up. He opened his eyes, rubbing the sleep from them. He zeroed in on Bella with relief. How is she? Dean asked. The nurse turned toward him, her long black hair swaying with the movement. Her teeth were a bright contrast against her caramel skin. She's healthy as can be. We can probably discharge her today. Are you family? She asked. No, just friends, I answered. She gave us a smile, before leaving again, stating she was going to grab paperwork. I'm going to go grab some coffee, I stated, giving them some time to themselves. Dean Pav. I moved to the edge of the bed, taking her hand in mine. I'm glad you're all right, I said. She was better than all right. She was healed. She squeezed my hand, and I stared into her chocolate eyes. Don't apologize. I get it. I understand. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Don't do something like that again. I mean, you've come to mean a lot to me. And to Sam. We didn't know anything and Cass wasn't helpful. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I asked her. I couldn't go through it again. Losing someone. Bobby was lost to us. God was gone apparently with his sister. Besides Sam and Cass, Bella was all I had, and it's been a long 7 months without her. She squeezed my hand slightly, nodding. I know, Dean. This is where I belong. I understand that now. I nodded, letting out a breath. I wanted to tell her the whole truth. Everything. What we were supposed to be one day. How our lives were probably going to get more fucked up. Her face, despite how healed she looked, showed tiredness and a drainage that only happens to the best of us, and I knew she wasn't ready for the onslaught of this news just yet. I told her something else instead. We have a bunker. She let out a confused laugh and leaned into the pillow. Awesome. I could see her eyes drooping. Her grip on my hand becoming lighter. I got up from the bed and leaned overhead, resisting the urge to kiss her forehead. Don't leave, she mumbled. I grabbed the chair that sat behind me, pulling it forward before sitting down in her line of view. I'm not going anywhere. Blank. I flicked on the lights, the bunker seeming to come to life. Watch your step, Bella. Sam was once again being the protective friend, being Bella's cane of sorts. I helped her down the last step, leading her through the library. Whoa, you weren't kidding. What is all this stuff? She asked, already eyeing the titles. A British man of letters. Sam stated, putting the duffel on the table. The what now? I tugged her a bit, leading her towards the bedrooms. Nothing we can't explain tomorrow. It's been a long drive, and you need sleep. Come on. I smiled as she dragged her feet and quietly let out a, but Dean, in there somewhere. I opened a door that wasn't too far from ours and flicked on the switch. Home sweet home. I can show you the kitchen if you'd like tonight. She shook her head and gave me a smile. I'm all right for now. I couldn't help the grunt. T left me as she wrapped her tiny arms around me. I gently wrapped my arms around her waist, feeling the bones beneath her slightly too big clothes. Despite Cass's ability, he couldn't fix the inside. Tomorrow, you eat. We need you up to par. I brushed some hair from her face, giving her a smile. Will do. Are you going to be far? She asked, sitting down on the bed. I nodded, pointing in the general direction. Just down the hall. She nodded and pulled the covers down. Sounds good, she whispered. I leaned against the door, quiet for a moment. Do you need me to stay? I asked, watching her closely. She looked down, pulling at the blanket thread. I don't want to need you. She sighed, looking up at me. It's been so dark. I didn't sleep, couldn't really. Now that it's all over, it feels like it's not. That this is a dream and I'll wake up back in that place. That horrible place. I walked forward, sitting down on the bed. That's over now. You're safe. I guided her head to my shoulder, letting her cry it out. I'm here. I'm right here. She grasped my shirt, quietly sobbing. I kissed her hair, rocking slightly. My eyes connected with Sam as he walked by. He frowned, leaning against the door like I was just seconds ago. He just nodded at me, shaking his head. He walked away after giving me a tight smile, and I held Bella until she fell asleep. After tucking her in, I stood slowly, fighting my feet to leave. I left the door ajar, before walking down the hall. How is she? Sam asked, sitting down in the chair. I sighed, sitting down across from him. I scrubbed a hand down my face. She's been through hell, her own personal hell. That's not uncommon for someone in her situation. I jumped slightly, giving Cass a look. You could announce yourself a bit better. Or use the door. Where's Jack? I asked instead, slightly curious on where the kid was. I was still trying to forgive the kid, and Cass for that matter. He's here. He didn't want to get in your way, Dean. I don't know how many times I can apologize. I shook my head, holding up my hand. Look, you'll never apologize enough to fix this. Mom is gone, for good, and I shouldn't have expected her to live forever. I'm already focused on the next thing, finding God, since all doors to heaven seem to be closed and there's no keeper of hell, and Bella. I can't just put her out there with no info. We need a month at least of something. Just to regroup. Cass sighed and nodded. How is she? He asked, looking around. She'll be fine. She just needs to rest up. I responded. Sam leaned back in his chair looking thoughtful. I'm sorry to ask, but does Jack pose a threat? He's burned off the last of his soul, and he's never met Bella. How stable is he? That was a good question, a serious but good question. Who is this Bella? Another hunter? I glanced in Jack's direction with surprise, giving Cass another dirty look. Seriously, you two should come with Bells. Yeah, she's a hunter. A friend, someone I care deeply about. I stressed the word care, grabbing the beer off the table. I'm not saying I can just look past what happened, but it can't happen again. It won't, if you can't control whatever issues you have going on. And something happens to her because of you, we're done. I won't look the other way, kid. I stared Jack in the eyes, taking a swig of my beer, the air tense. Okay, blank, underscore, blank. I see you found us. I smiled. Bella walked into the room, dressed in her old clothes. Her hair was brushed back, a headband on her head. Yeah, your voice is Carrie. I looked up as Sam came through the door with bags in his hands. I'm just in time for breakfast. Bella grabbed a seat and Sam laid the bags out. We specifically left a whole plate for Bella to eat on and I dig into my burger. Closing my eyes. There was nothing like slices of bacon on a burger. We each ate in silence, my thoughts divided between Bella and what to do today. Mid-bite, I sat my burger down and leaned back. Alright, time to get serious. With this bunker came a lot of crap. People were after us, the usual. Lucifer has a child, Jack, with a human while he was in the president's body. I watched Bella's face as she tilted her head. Ew, okay, so what happened to this Jack? Sam cleared his throat, putting down his fork. He's with us. We wanted to kill it when his mother gave birth. But he was born a full-on teenager, and Castiel thought that Jack had some goodness within him, which he did for a while. We had some big bad nasties, Bella. Leviathans, these creatures. Form purgatory started to take over the world. His name was Dick. It took a long time to take him down. He killed Bobby. I looked down, nodding. Despite Bobby being here, he really wasn't our Bobby. Jack's birth opened up an alternate timeline where people we knew never died, only we never existed. We were able to lock Lucifer in this timeline and brought many of our people back, although it's not the same. God posed as a prophet named Chuck and apparently has a sister to where he went off to God knows where. Pun so not intended. Our mom was brought back to us, until Jack accidentally killed her. Currently there is no heaven or hell, no angels, well good ones anyway, demons are roaming Earth. There's not a lot of us hunters left. So what does that mean for the world right now? What's happening? What does that mean for you guys? I shrugged, not really knowing what that meant for anyone at the moment. I don't know, but I know we'll be here to fight it. All of it. We're gonna get you healed up. If you're still in the fight, and keep pushing. Bella nodded, and grabbed my hand, squeezing it. I've got nothing better to do. Sam chuckled going back to his salad. I squeezed hers in return before going back to my burger, letting the worries slip away for just this time. The end.